Today we continue into the book of 1 Samuel, and we're still looking at some really beautiful pictures here coming right out of the book of Ruth. We're in the time of the judges, and Samuel, we're well familiar with Samuel, is going to be born here, and he is going to be arguably the last judge of this time period, and also the first of the great prophets that be raised up for the people of Israel. But we find the backstory here is that a man by the name of Elkanah had a wife named Hannah, and also another wife. But Hannah could have no children, and this was a very sorrowful thing for her, a very difficult thing, especially in a period of time when having children was considered a blessing from God, and to have no children was considered by many a curse. And so she was very sad. It was very hard on her, and the other wife made fun of her and taunted her, and so that made it even more difficult as well. And so we find her by the time we get to verse 8 that she's weeping, and she couldn't eat, and her heart was sad, and Elkanah is trying to encourage her, but not with much success. And then they head up to the tabernacle, which is at Shiloh at this time, and their annual trek up there to sacrifice and worship God. And she went to the tabernacle apparently and was praying in verse 10 and wept bitterly. And she made a vow and said this, a very well-known vow. O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but give your maidservant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and a razor shall never come on his head. So she makes a promise to God, if he would give her a son, she would give him back in complete and utter dedication to serve the Lord. And he would apparently become a Nazirite, just like Samson. Now, Samson is the best known Nazirite in Scripture, a man who was dedicated from birth or even from his womb to the Lord, would eat would touch no dead things, would eat nothing from the fruit of the vine and drink anything from that, would let their hair grow out, not cut it. And so we have apparently Samuel, the second best known of the Nazirites. Well, Levi, who was the high priest at this time, verse 13, saw her praying and thought she was drunk. He protests, he remonstrates her at this time, and she says, I'm not drunk. I'm just asking the Lord for this child. Eli, I don't know what power he had to promise this, but in Eli, he says, go in peace. May the God of Israel grant you your petition that you have asked of him. I don't know that he was prophesying that she could have a son, but nevertheless she did. And so she goes home, and within that next year, she does have a son. And verse 20, she names him Samuel. And Samuel is going to be her son. And the name means, or sounds like in the Hebrew, requested from God. So that's why he's named that, requested of God. Well, she has made a promise to God that she would dedicate this little one to the Lord if the Lord gave her a son. And so they go up, the next time they're ready to go up to worship the Lord at Shiloh, she refuses to go. She says, I will not go until the child is weaned, which would be somewhere in the toddler stage. It's hard to know here, 3 or 4 years old perhaps. So she's going to keep him home until she's ready to take him to the tabernacle and give him to Eli to worship and serve the Lord at the tabernacle. So she's as good as her word. And finally, she comes back up with her husband and little Samuel, and they have a sacrifice, verses 24 and 25. And she says, Oh, my Lord, as your soul lives, my Lord, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. For this boy I prayed, and the Lord has given me my petition, which I ask of him. So I have also dedicated him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is dedicated to the Lord, and he worshiped the Lord there. So she hands over her son. Could you imagine how difficult that would be to take your firstborn son, perhaps at this point her only son, only child, and to keep her promise? A lot of people give promises to God when they're desperate. A lot of people don't follow through on promises, but Hannah does. And she brings her little one to Eli to serve in the tabernacle. It even says in verse 28 that he worshiped the Lord there. Now, how much a little one could worship the Lord at this point is questionable, but in his own way, perhaps so. And then the rest of his life, we find Samuel, one of the great examples of all the scriptures of a man who walked with God and worshiped God. So it's going to be interesting and enjoyable up to a point to follow the life story of Samuel, and that's what this book is about, basically wrapped around Samuel and his exploits and the things that the Lord will use him for.